So, hello, we are going to start with the systems design. That's the second part of our unit 4. So, next we'll the system design, the basics we'll see. So, basics is that system design is basically process of defining architecture, product design, and modules interface, and all the data for the system analysis and to satisfy certain specified requirements. So these type of requirements and could be satisfied, like they could be modeled into architecture, product design, modules, art interface, etc. Means many things could be done for doing the system design. Then the system design is basically seen as an application of systems theory that we had studied. So we had already studied systems theory, and the application of that systems theory is basically system design, and for the especially for the product development purpose. So in the product development you apply the systems theory, and the thing that you'll get is system design. Then there are some overlap between the various disciplines like system analysis, system architecture, systems engineering. Basically these are something overlap, significant overlap with the systems requirement. So the systems requirement, system design, concept modeling, all these things are basically interrelated, and nobody knows where a particular topic finishes and another topic begins. So the most important thing that you can get is that you just study all of them, whatever been written in the literature. Study system design, study systems analysis, study systems architecture, study system requirement engineering, etc., and you'll get understanding of all the things. So there's no fixed border of where the overlap finishes and other topic starts. So this system design basically provides sufficient detail about data and information that will help you to maintain the consistency with the architectural entities. So all the entities architecture are being formulated with some data set and the information, so that you can formulate that system and its components that will help you define the model of that system. We'll see the system modeling later, and that will help you to view some system architecture, and this was been written in the IEEE and ISO standards. Then we'll see the levels of the system design. So first is architectural design level. In this, the most basic and the most fundamental form of the design takes place, where you model the structure and describe the structure and behavior and analysis of that system, how that system would be viewed. Then thereafter, the logical design part. So how that logical design, logical part like data flow, input and output, what is modeled. So all these type of modeling you have to do in the logical design. So graphical modeling of the actual system, entity relationship diagrams. We'll see this entity relationship diagrams in detail, because we are talking about too much about the entities and their relationship. Then we'll see about these models in the next like system modeling type, a whole part of that this coursework. Then physical design. So the actual input and the actual output of the system, that how that input and output works, and how that data is being processed, whether it is being verified as correct or not, how that data and user could be authenticated and processed, displayed in the website or many other things, or any security biometric systems are there. Then what are the input requirements, what are the output requirements, all these things comes in the physical design, means hardware level of things, like physically that you can touch, or physically that you can insert, and physically that you can get out. Like files are set to be a physical thing, like there's some input file, there's some output file. So all type of things that could be physically seen. Then the storage requirement. So what are the storage requirement, means in the some logistics of transportation, as well as in computer also. Then processing, what's the time to process that logistics goods, and how to transport that product from one place to another, how to transport that good from one place to another. Then it is also true for the case of computer science, means processing a certain file or some activities in the computer. Then system control, backup and recovery, how you back up that whole product goods and that data set, anything that you can back up or recover. Then system controlling, how do you control the whole system in the uh, larger form as a whole. Then you have interface, what should be the interface, what should be the input, how that input should be looking like, how that form should be designed, data should be designed, processing should be designed. So all these things are the part of physical. Then the ER modeling, that's the logical design. In the database, it was being used. And this is the most important part in the basically in any kind of system data analysis. So either it was mechanical or biometric systems. So you have the data basically working behind. So you can model that data into the ER, entity relationship modeling. So what is that, how that entity relationship would help. So it basically helps to facilitate the database design, and it defines the enterprise schema, how that input and output was being done for the particular data set, what is the data structure. So overall logical structure of the data set was being defined under this. Then data model basically employs three basic things: entity sets, relationship sets, and the attribute sets. And we'll see the three things in detail. Like model is basically associated with diagrammatic representation, so it is diagrams that we are talking about, diagrams that actually expresses the logical structure of the database graphically. First is entity set. So what is entity? We keep on talking about this type of entities. An entity basically object that exist or distinguish from other objects, which could be some person, company, event, plant, etc. could be there. Then entity set means set of similar entities, and the entities with the same property could be kept in a same set. So that set is could be of set of persons, means a community could be there, and community have various persons. Then companies could be there, which could be similar behavior and similar product delivery, like film industry, like software industry. So like Infosys and TCS could be kept in same set. Then trees, various kind of similar trees, then various kind of holidays that could be kept in the same set. Then entity could be represented with attribute. What are the attributes? Like IDs could be there, names could be there, salary could be there. For a student, roll number could be an attribute. So all these, anything that can describe the property of that entity or entity set could be the attribute. And multiple such attribute would be result in the set of attributes. Example, instructor could have ID, salary and name. Course could be having course ID, title and credit. Then the subset of the primary attribute forms some primary key. So it will form a primary key of that entity set, and it will uniquely identify the member of the other, that whole set, and analysis could be done. And for example, in the case of instructor and student, so this is the table for the instructor, this is table for the student. So this is how you store the database, and this is how you store the database too. This is type 1 database, this is type 2 database, and both are the tabular tables are there, and these are basically relational models. So entity set could be represented graphically as follows, like rectangle could represent the entities. So this rectangle is basically used for representing the entities. Then the attribute could be listed inside that entity rectangle. So ID, name and salary. So IDs can determine what's the name of that person, salary of that person uniquely, means only one ID could be there as a unique that can identify the name and salary of that particular person. So only one unique ID will be there for a particular person, and second ID would represent another person, and third ID would represent third person. Means there's no possibility that ID could represent two different persons. So this is what it mean by primary key. Underline was the primary key. Then the student have the roll number as the ID. So roll number can uniquely define that student and identify that student in the whole university. Means the only one student would have that roll number, and that roll number is assigned with some name and with the total credits. So this all these things are being taken from the book, famous book, that is of Korth and Sudarshan. Then the relationship set. So this is how this relationship of advisor works. So there are various instructors with different ID names and salary. They are having the relationship with the student as the advisor, like master's program or in the PhD program. So the relationship is basically association among the different entities, entity 1 and entity 2, and they have the relationship. So the relationship set is there, which could be having the mathematical relationship among n greater than 2. Means there should be at least two entity that could define the some relationship. Then the entity could be taken in the form like this set: E1 entity, E2 entity, and up to the En entity, and these have to be at least two entities should be there. Either E1 E2 could be there, or there has to be more than E1 E2. So there are n possible entities and they are having some relationship. This is how you can define it mathematically. Then example is like there's some student that his name is Peltier, and this is his ID. So that has the advisor as Einstein, which is this one. So this instructor entity was there, 22222, and this is the example could be written like this: 4445553 comma triple two double two. So this is how the relationship of the advisor could work. So we actually define the relationship set to denote the association between a student and the advisor, and that relationship could be the advisor, and the another entity is instructor. So instructor and student have some relationship. Then this line is basically representing that relationship. Next, so this is the large ER diagram for the entity relationship modeling for the university enterprise. As I told, this is a kind of model. ER diagram is a kind of model that we are going to see in the next part. So there is significant overlap between system design, system architecture, and system modeling. So we are seeing this ER diagram over here in the system design, and we'll see system modeling later. So there's course department. Department is there, which is having some department name, building, and it's having budget. Then institute department is instructors department. Sorry, is student department. Then instructor having the ID name, salary, advisor. Relationship could be there with the student. Teaches means instructor teaches a particular section. Student takes some particular section, is a student is assigned with a particular section. Then that student would have some grades. Then department would actually have some course assigned to that. The courses are there in the department. Then time slots are there for the various classes in a particular section, and there are various classrooms and buildings are there for that section. So this is how actually you do the modeling and entity relationship diagram. You can say it's system design, you can say it's system modeling, etc. Then you have the systems design, further basics like to supplement the system architecture by providing some information and the data useful to the necessary for the implementation of the system component. So what you want to do, you this system design is the purpose that actually provide some useful information for the system architecture. What information was being provided by this system design? The data set or some necessary information required for the implementation of the system component. So all this type of information that helps you to implement that system component is basically lies in the systems design. Then the process of basically developing and expressing some documentation part and communicating relationships of that architecture. So as we had already seen in the systems requirement, some specification documentation is required, requirement specification documentations are there. So basically the purpose of the system design is to create some and express some documents, and that will help to communicate with the architecture of that system. Then systems actually deals with various complexity, and there could be multiple complexity. For example, interconnection level, multi-technical persons are there. Emergence means the property which comes after the all components start working together. Then structuring of that component and that are comprises of the system. Then there are various structure and some functional and behavioral temporal things, and temporal physical logics are happen to be there. So all these things structure and should need to be explained. Otherwise there are various things that could be written and modeled in the some system properties. Then thereafter some activities are there for providing some set of component that has to be acceptable and convincible to the end user or stakeholders. So these activities are being defined in the systems design. And what are the characteristics and enablers of that system design? So there's two jargons like characteristics and enablers. So some of the technologies and discipline have various characteristics, like laws are there, so rules are there, theories are there, and that are having enablers like some transformation, structural behavior, and temporal time based properties are there. So the design actually tries to model and write about the such characteristics, like there are dimensions, shapes of that material, and data processing. It depends on the field that you are working on, and it depends on the domain of that system that you are working on. Then the specifically the system enablers are like some formal expression, equations are there, you have a diagram and drawing, you have some mind maps or tables are being written down, some patterns are there, algorithms, heuristics. So all these things are said to be design enablers. Then the examples of the mechanical engineering are like shape, geometry, patterns, dimensions, some volume, resistance and force, weights and velocities are there. Then softwares are basically having the design and enablers like distributed processing, data structure, data persistence, and some control and abstraction could be there. So the encapsulation and structural patterns are there. Then what are the process of doing the system design? Basically there are four steps, and there could be many other steps could be dependent on the how you design that process, so of system design. So we'll say most basic ones, like you have to initialize the system design and definition, that what you want to design. You first initialize that, think over it. Then you need to establish some of the design characteristic and design enabler that we had seen in the previous slide, that there are some related components of the system that actually relate with some characteristics and enablers. Then thereafter in the third part, some accessing the alternative for obtaining some component, that how you want to obtain that, and how do you evaluate that component, how what's the metrics that are required to evaluate that component. Then it how to manage that system design in future. So all these things are the part of this process. Then conceptual design, basically the stages of the systems engineering are having various concepts, like the concepts design, conceptual designs are like having the system vision, what was the concept of that design. We'll see this conceptual modeling later, and in detail we'll see. So there are various modeling are there. So concept modeling and this type of design, which could help you do the system vision analysis, help you do the feature analysis, that will help you do the procurement, that how do you procure that project. Then the system development part takes place. What are the equipment that are required, like software updation was required. Then what are the outline of the requirement, then development, deployment, and thereafter the system evolution takes place. And how that operation of that whole system keeps on happening is the basically, this is how the system engineering steps works. And conceptual design is basically set of purpose of the high level features and understanding what are basically need of the user, and how might it be expected by to see that system to be run. Then procurement or acquisition, that how you will decide that whether you want this contractor for that system, that it could be that contractor could able to develop or not. So this type of legal argument, legal dealing of that acquisition procurement are being done in this case. Then development is basically dependent on the system to system, and that actually requires system engineer, like in computer science software. So you need software developer. In mechanical, you need mechanical engineers. In civil, you need civil engineers. So it depends on the domain that you are working on. So engineering and operational properties are being dependent on the system, and this type of thing, operational thing and engineering thing, is done in the development. Then what are the operations that the system should must perform and deploy and developed are being intended under this process of operation. Then this more simplifying this conceptual design activity is like this. Then conceptual design could be done having the conceptual formulation, that what are the concept and how do you formulate that, what are the problem understanding, problem definitions are there. Then what are the system proposal development, that what are the uh, objectives that you want to focus, goals of that system. Then whether that project is feasible or not, whether it is having economical benefits or not. Then what are the system structure and what are the development properties. Then this will actually create whole thing in under the system vision document. This is concept formulation is basically helps you do the refinement and initialization of the statement. That actually these type of statement would help you do the what type of system that you most likely to meet out, that actually need the system stakeholders. So all these things, requirement and needs, are being modeled under this type of concept formulation, and statements are needed for doing this. Then problem understanding, what are the problems that is stakeholder want to solve with that product, and how they will be helped, and how that system should work for the particular stakeholder. Then what is it that product is expected to do, and what that product is not expected to do. All these things are being formulated under the problems. And what are the likes and dislikes of the stakeholders about that systems. So you need to consider all these things while defining the problem of that system. Then system proposal, development, and good idea, what are the good idea possibilities, and what may be required and what more required. Then the feasibility study means comparing that system, whether that could be developed elsewhere or not, whether it is possible to propose that system, to implement that system. So you do that feasibility and risk analysis much earlier as compared to you go for system development. So you do the current technology analysis for that. Then systems structure development, that a particular architecture was there, you define in the systems architecture, and then you keep on developing, and engineering part was being keep on doing, that you are connecting some of the different components, identifying whether that component is appropriate or not, how to connect, whether it is possible to connect or not. appropriate to connect or not, that system could be reused or not, that component could be reused or not. All these things comes under system structure development. Then system vision document, so this is a requirement specification that we had already studied. So this type of documentation could have different names like system vision document, system requirement specification, or requirement document, etc. could be names. So in this, actually, you do the conceptual designing. Documentation was being done that has to be readable. Non-technical ways are there to read, and non-technical should also be able to read that. And it gives the short summary of the whole things and more detail in the whole thing. So in the next part we'll see the systems modeling. I hope that you like the system design. So system design and system modeling and system architecture have mostly many things overlapping and common to each other. So bye, we'll see in the next class for all.